called the cup of consummation. Now, why is it called the cup of consummation? Because he can't drink from that cup. We can't drink from that cup until the bride and the groom get together at the marriage supper of the Lamb, and we will drink once again from that cup and consummate the final consummation, hallelujah, of our relationship with the Messiah. Now here's the part that's interesting. I'm reading, some of you, I shared this the other night, that the Lord put it in my heart. It's like, God, could you have done this 10 years ago? He put it in my heart to do a study Bible. And so I'm really digging. I'm going to the verses, and I'm looking at each verse. And I'm finding out some things that honestly in my entire life of being a minister I did not know that are extremely interesting. There is a verse in Deuteronomy 24:5 that says this: when a man takes a new wife, he shall not go out to war, nor be charged with any business, but shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up the wife he has taken. After they have been married for a year, and he has no... Y'all saying, what was this now? Well, you mean if I get married, I get a year off? That's what the Lord said. You got some old rascals out there, they'd get rid of one and get another one just so they could get another year off. A bunch of lazy rascals. Come on, I'm preaching now. All right, now here's what's interesting. They can't go to war during the year. They have to wait till the year's up because he has to cheer up his wife for 1 year. Now, I believe... Now you got to go back to the 7 days. Remember there were 6 days, right? Why is it in the book of Revelation, the seventh angel, it's done. Number 7, it is finished. Because in the 6 years of heaven, we go all the way up to the destruction of Mystery Babylon, which happens on the 6th year. The 7th year of the tribulation, all hell is breaking out on the earth. But in heaven, on the 7th year, wait a minute, 7 is the Shabbat. It's the day of rest. We will have been in heaven 6 years, but the moment we step into that marriage supper, you ready for this, y'all? It's 1 year long. It's a year long. The pattern is laid in Deuteronomy. He that takes a new wife cannot work or go to war. You got to understand why it's a year long. Because Jesus comes back with the armies of heaven and we're in war. Read after the marriage supper. That's when we come back to the earth and we're battling. He battles the Antichrist and we are coming back as the army of heaven. So you can't go to war unless you've taken a year with your bride to cheer her up. Hey, now I want you to imagine getting to eat a year. My boy says he knows there's sushi in heaven. I've been to Louisiana and I know this crawfish etouffee going to be there. Hello. Think about what I just said. A year's time, because if you look at the chronology, the marriage supper is at the end of the 7. Now see, sometimes we read the Bible and we read it through real fast and we think the supper is, well, one night. Listen, ready? In Jesus' day and in the ancient time when they got married, they had a marriage supper celebration 7 days. We don't do that now. You know why? The parents would be bankrupt. They'd be telling their kids, go elope. Still here? When the supper ends, we come to Revelation 19, which is the end of the 7 years. And that's where the saints of God go back to earth to rule and reign with Christ for 1,000 years. And I know some people say, Perry, how is all this possible? How do you think it's actually possible to get from heaven to earth and from earth to heaven. Let me just tell you, brother, it's already been tested. Enoch tested it. Elijah tested it. Jesus tested it. And in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word has already been established. They left this planet and they got there. Woo! Tell you a quick story right quick. I have a missionary friend of mine that knows the son of this man. He was the one that told me the story. There was a missionary that spent over 50 years overseas. He never even came back to the States. He had raised his children there. In fact, his wife died there. And he got to be so kind of old and feeble that he just couldn't do it anymore. So they asked him, said, "Daddy, let's go back to the States. We can take care of you better there." And they went by boat. They came back to the port. The captain on the ship said, "Ladies and gentlemen, there's a very well-known, world-renowned movie star that's on this boat, and they have a press conference for her, and we're going to have to let her off the boat. We're going to ask everyone else to remain on the ship till we give you the signal to go." So the old missionary and his son came to the deck and watched, and there they were. There's thousands of people, press people flashing bulbs, holding on to every word she was saying. He looked, waited. The old man was so tired, he just said, "Daddy, we'll just get off last if you don't mind. We'll just sit up here and we'll wait." And they did. When they finally got off that boat, the son looked around, and there wasn't one press person, and there wasn't one reporter, and there wasn't even any church people. And he got very upset. And he said these words. He said, "This is absolutely not fair. Here is someone that just makes movies, and they get this welcome. You go on the mission fields for 50 years. Mama dies there. You almost died there a couple times. You give your whole life to feeding and taking care of poor people. And there should at least be a huge welcoming committee here, Dad, welcoming you back. You've come all the way home, and there's nobody here to greet you." And the old man leaned back and smiled. He said, "Son, I ain't home yet." Well, the earth doesn't like me. That's okay, because I'm not home yet. I don't get along with people down here. That's all right. I'm not home yet. The world's getting worldlier. The church is getting holier. And some of the church is getting to be a bunch of hypocrites. I know that, but I'm not home yet. I've come by to tell you we're not home yet. God, the best is yet to come for those who believe God. Hallelujah. How many of you were not here, oh my goodness, where I told the story about my grandma and my granddad? It was in the morning service. How many of you were not here in the morning service? Raise your hand. I just felt like I need to tell this again. Bring up Granny's picture. I'm going to have to show you a picture of them. On the far right is my mother, and then her sister Janet. They had 2 children, and then Grandma and Granddad. Lord, I'd sure love to have that guitar and that accordion right now. That's a beautiful guitar. And when he was 17 years of age, he eloped with her when she was 16. Now, she's pretty in that picture, but my Grandma Beva looked like a Hollywood movie star. We got some old pictures we got out the other day, the old ones. And we was in the house with my mom and my dad, and Dad said, "Oh, Lucy looked like a Hollywood movie star." He said, "Your granddad wasn't going to let her go. He was afraid somebody was going to get her, and he just went in there one day and said, 'Come on, we're going to go get married.'" And do you know they stayed married for over 60-some years? And they were never apart. He told me, my granddad told me, that they were apart